name's Jake Vossenkemper, Director of Agronomy and Research here at Liqui-Grow.
Hi, I'm Katie Hess, Sales and Marketing Director here at Liqui-Grow. Jake, for the folks at home, new space today, but an old topic. So soybean cyst nematodes. Farmers can control a few things, but there's things we can't control. We can't control the weather. We can't control the markets. We can't control fuel prices, but we can control setting ourselves up for success on soybeans. And I think that's what we're going to talk about today with soybean cyst nematodes.
Yeah, absolutely, Katie. I can promise you that you may not be able to see it, but in almost every single field and every year, soybean cyst nematodes are reducing yields in eastern Iowa and northwest Illinois fields for sure. Okay, back in 2015, that yield loss was about 1.5 bushels per acre. Okay. But as I've talked about before on these videos and other longer videos, soybean cyst nematodes are overcoming the main source of resistance. So just like water hemp overcame glyphosate, just like rootworm has overcome some of the traits, soybean cyst nematodes are also overcoming the trait in soybean that for 20 or more years has been used to protect soybean roots from soybean cyst nematodes.
And you're talking about PI 88788, and I think the folks at home by now can even repeat that. So let's talk about peak cane and what they see down at Fruitland, Iowa. So Fruitland, Iowa, if you're unfamiliar, has some lighter, sandier soils. And what we see there on soybean cyst nematodes is usually what we're going to see everywhere else in the future because their populations are so high already, right?
Correct.
So why don't you tell the folks a little bit more about that?
So I'm speculating a little bit, but what they observed down there this year is that the Peking variety, so that different source of resistance, so that resistant source that the soybean cyst nematodes aren't resistant to, all the top yielding varieties in Fruitland were Peking varieties, and the yields were in the mid to high 80s. These Peking varieties, so they had good yields. It's irrigated, of course. So that probably tells us that population of soybean cyst nematodes is very resistant to PI 8788. Okay, and because it's sandy soils, there's a high population there. But that's probably a good indication of what's to come in the rest of the state.
So folks need to be looking at the variety tags, right? So if we think we have an issue on a field, be looking at the variety tags, making sure that you maybe are putting some of that Peking into your own farm operation is what you're saying.
Yes, when possible. Now, unfortunately, there's not a ton of varieties out there, but there's more coming.
But there are more today than there were even
Absolutely.
3 or 4 years ago.
Yes, yep. The other thing, this gets a little bit convoluted and hard to understand a little bit, but the other thing you can do is if there's not a Peking variety that you like, you can look in the soybean SCN variety evaluation studies from Iowa State. So the other thing you can look at it is even if you can't find a Peking variety and that's in the maturity for your geography or the company you do business with, what you can look at is you can look at the reproductive factor on the PI.
Oh boy, I knew you were going to this.
Okay. And the lower the reproductive factor, that's an indication that in that variety, PI 88788 is being expressed more effectively or more expressed. So that's going to help combat the SCN. And if you have questions about that, if that's confusing, send me an email. Give me a call, get in touch with our salespeople. You can get in touch with me and I can walk you through that.
So the way you explained it to me was they look at the egg count in the spring, they look at the egg count in the fall, and they kind of make a reproductive factor using how many eggs are there at the end of the year versus where they started,
Correct,
right?
Yep.
Okay, that's also a quick little way to say that.
Just a touch.
Not probably 100%, as you could tell. Jake's going to fix that.
That's pretty close. The other thing that a farmer needs to be thinking about is, well, what else can I do besides plant?
Yeah, what else can you do?
You can grow more corn. I mean, I know that sounds
music to my
silly,
ears.
but after 3 years, after about 3 years, the soybean cyst nematode population tanks pretty hard. They're still there. You can't completely get rid of them, but after about 3 years, they're pretty devastated. Even after 2 years, the population really drops. So that's a simple tactic that you could use to really help lower that soybean cyst nematode level in your field.
Okay, what about like a levo?
A levo,
if we're going to stay the bean route.
Given my success and different trials I've done and just practically seeing beans in the field, Levo is extremely effective on SDS, and it does give us some help for sure on soybean cyst nematodes. Is it going to fix a problem field completely? No, it's not. But it is a tool in the toolbox you should be using to help combat soybean cyst nematode resistance.
Anything else you're thinking about?
I think we hit on the majors, Katie.
So plant corn. If you're going to plant beans, use a levo.
Yep.
Check your variety tags to see if you're using Peking once in a while or PI 88788 with a more expressed gene. And we'll link this evaluation into our
And we can probably
video too.
link that talk that Dr. Tilka and I had.
Oh, yeah.
That was about an hour long. That really get into the details of all this stuff if you want to know more.
I'll put that on my to-do list. Well, thanks to all of you out there to watch the video today. Hope you're having a great day and surviving the snowstorm.
Stay in the know with Liqui-Grow.